Welcome to ASL. In this class, you will learn many new and different things about the ASL and deaf culture. Before we look deeper into ASL and deaf culture, I want to tell you a few simple things. 1. ASL is not universal. For example, ASL is not signed exact English. Two, in the same as voicing English has different accents, so does ASL. 3, ASL has a different grammar structure than voice English.
Let's go to the movies later. Later, we're going where? The movies. We'll cut it out.
4, in voice English, you have nicknames, right? It's the same in ASL. You have name signs.
What are some myths about the deaf culture? Number 1, all deaf people know sign. Number 2, all deaf people can read lips. 3, deaf people know Braille. Number 4, deaf people can't voice. 5, deaf people can't drive.
What is the same about hearing and deaf cultures? One is deaf and one is hearing. Okay. Both use English. Both have the same family life. Both use facial expressions. Both use hand gestures. Both do the same activities.
Differences between hearing and deaf cultures. In deaf culture, when you speak or sign, you expand on every topic and you tell the story of what you want to say. While in hearing, you get to the point in what you're saying. Number 2, deaf people plan when they're going to meet before they stop hanging out with each other. Number 3, deaf people at parties, they meet in the kitchen. Why? Because there's better lights and they can see each other. Hearing people meet in the living room.
What are some rights and responsibilities of deaf people? Well, deaf people and hearing people have the same rights, but deaf people have a few more. What are some laws that help the deaf people? Well, the ADA and the Rehab Act help deaf people in the workforce, and you will learn about these acts in the future. Now, what are some rights that deaf people have? Number 1, deaf people can ask for reasonable accommodations. What are some reasonable accommodations? Number 1, interpreters. 2, closed captions. 3, TTYs. And 4, flashing lights. Now, what do these do? Interpreters help the deaf understand what's happening around them. And the same thing with closed captions on screens. TTYs help the deaf communicate. Flashing lights get the attention of deaf people if there's a fire, a tornado, or if someone's at the door. If a deaf person asks for these accommodations, the employer must provide them. Employers cannot discriminate against the deaf. If a deaf person and a hearing person apply for a job, they must have equal opportunity to get the job.
What technology do deaf people use? First is the TTY. Second is the video relay service. Third is the iPhone for texting and FaceTime. Fourth is the flashing light for alarms.